Yo, welcome back to another video. It's your boy Coreythemaan, and we back in it with another one. This is 1 minute. Yeah, let's edit this. I'm getting tired of looking at that part. So let's add this in. Let me resize this. I don't even know what that was. God, why'd I have to mess with that? That probably messed the whole thing up. Okay, looks like it didn't mess anything up, really. Okay, now let's get right into it. Here we go.
Currently, I would say that the WWE main roster is in a rather healthy place. However, just because it's healthy doesn't mean it's perfect. So today I wanted to go through and notate to you at least 10 superstars who need to return to the WWE. If you think I'm missing one, be sure to comment them down below, and also while you're headed down there, be sure to leave a like on the video. With all that being said, I don't want to waste any time. Let's get right into this with the man, Becky Lynch. Now, most of you might not even really realize that Becky's kind of gone. Technically, she hasn't actually re-signed a contract with WWE after her deal expired earlier this year. The company would give her one reign on top with the Women's World Heavyweight Championship before she was on her way out the door, where she would of course put over Liv Morgan. Now listen, the man has accomplished it all in WWE. Main event at WrestleMania, won just about everything there is to have been won, but if I'm being completely honest, the women's division on both Raw and SmackDown could really use her star power. I'm not saying that Rhea and Liv aren't great, it's just that she would absolutely bolster them by being such a massive star in her own right.
Now, we could do any other massive star. I can't stand Becky. It's the same thing every.
However, I would personally rather see her go over to SmackDown, where she could maybe feud Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax over the WWE Women's Championship, as she does have quite a bit of history with the both of them. Regardless though, in my opinion, it stands to reason that Big Time Beck should be back on our TV screen sooner than later. Coming up next, we gotta talk about Adam Cole, baby. Now, if you guys don't know Adam Cole, he's an AEW star at the moment. However, due to injuries, among other things, he hasn't exactly been utilized all that well over in AEW. He did have a rather memorable bromance with MJF over in AEW. However, in my opinion, everything he has done over there in AEW has paled in comparison to his time in NXT. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to have him back as just a member of NXT. I think him being a main roster star would be absolutely in the cards if he chose to come back to WWE. Notably, he was one of Triple H's boys back in the day, and let's just put it simple and clean, right? If you were one of Triple H's main guys back in NXT, there's a good chance you'll be featured pretty well on the main roster. I'm not saying they're going to strap the rocket to him and put him straight into the main event scene, but whether he comes back alone or with the Undisputed Era in tow, I do believe that Adam Cole would certainly add quite a bit of depth to the already deep main roster lineup. Another man very well known for his time in groups, and this one's more of a long shot and more of something I would personally love to see, is none other than Jon Moxley coming back to WWE. And I do say Jon Moxley because at this point, let's face it, Dean Ambrose is basically a dead name. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't really see a world where Moxley comes back to the WWE, but with former Shield cohorts Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins basically at the top of their game alongside him, and all three of them being in their wrestling prime, so to speak, it would be an utter shame if we never got to see that Shield triple threat match at WrestleMania like we've all wanted. Don't get me wrong, we got the one at Battleground or whatever pay-per-view it was, and it was really good by all rights. But this kind of match with the actual elevated and kind of modernized versions of the Roman Reigns Tribal Chief character, Seth Rollins the Visionary, and Jon Moxley just a certified badass would absolutely elevate this match to outdo its predecessor. Plus, I definitely think that Jon Moxley would do a lot better in the modern WWE system than he has previously, and he would be treated as the massive star that he truly is. So again, while I don't necessarily see this one happening anytime soon, as Moxley's been treated pretty well over in AEW, I would absolutely be lying if I said I didn't want to see it. Another wrestler who's a pretty big blast from the past is none other than Mickie James. Now, Mickie is a curious case because she has been in WWE in kind of two different eras. She was around back in the Ruthless Aggression era and of course more recently in the 2010s-ish PG era. However, Mickie is like a fine wine and in my opinion she has only gotten better with age. See, all of her TNA knockout stuff that she has done and elevating that division has truly raised her star in my eyes. And while some of her more memorable work may exist over in WWE, I do think that there is time for one more run for Mickie James, and specifically, I would actually really like to see her and Fallon Henley team from NXT and become an actual bona fide, tag team. I know it's really simple, it's just pair a country girl up with another country girl, but that's kind of like all I need. Plus, eventually they could split off and Fallon can maybe turn heel on Mickie and elevate Fallon in the process, as Mickie is reaching an age where she is more than likely going to retire soon. So before all is said and done, I would love to see her have one more run in the WWE. Speaking of wrestlers nearing retirement, I have a 2-for-1 deal for you here with the Hardy Boys. Now, don't get me wrong, I definitely understand a lot of people's critiques of the Hardy Boys in the modern day. Not a lot of people really want to see them putting their bodies on the line like they have in the past. As such, I really don't feel like AEW was a great fit for either of them. And to put it very bluntly, their entire time in AEW was utterly eclipsed by their one WrestleMania return that we saw at WrestleMania 34. AEW is a place where typically the younger guys have been thriving. Don't get me wrong, there have been a few examples here and there of other guys thriving, like, Christian Cage, for example, or Chris Jericho. But the Hardys really haven't done a lot since going over there. In addition to their dissatisfaction seemingly at their booking in AEW, both Jeff and Matt have stated in interviews that they do eventually want to end their careers in WWE, and of course be inducted into the Hall of Fame together as the Hardy Boys. So one last run over in the WWE would absolutely secure their spot in the Hall of Fame. However, one wrestler that arguably has a lot left to prove under the WWE banner is none other than Athena, aka Ember Moon. Now, if you guys have been keeping up with Ring of Honor at all, you'll know that Athena has recently become the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion in history. Frankly, this run has been an excellent showcase of how quality a character and a performer that Athena is. And while she had a stellar NXT run over in WWE, her main roster run was a far cry from what could have been. As such, both for her legacy as a performer, as well as just, giving the WWE fans another very credible top woman star, Triple H or Nick Khan or whoever should absolutely break out the checkbook to sign Athena as soon as possible. Simply put, you can put her in just about any women's division across the entirety of the WWE, and she will absolutely tear it up. And listen, you bring her back, and I can guarantee that Ember Moon will absolutely eclipse just about anyone else in the women's division. Another NXT original that I want to bring up in this video is none other than Matt Riddle. Now listen, I'm not saying Matt Riddle has to come back and, win the world title or go crazy or anything like that, but I feel like with the more sports-oriented product and kind of character-focused product that they're currently presenting, that Matt Riddle in the current landscape of WWE would absolutely thrive. Listen, the guy has charisma, he knows how to talk into a microphone, and more than anything else, he's really good in the ring. Plus, I can wager that you also miss the RK Bro tag team at least just a little bit. And while I'm not saying Matt Riddle should come back just to reform RK Bro, it would certainly be a very nice thing to see. Plus, I could really see him doing some awesome things in the WWE mid-card division, very similar to the spot that Andrade's currently in. Like, I could really see him and, let's say Chad Gable having a sick best-of-7 series at some point. And that would go absolutely hard. So, TLDR, bring Matt Riddle back to the WWE, he will absolutely blaze up the WWE mid-card division. And keeping on trend with NXT superstars, let's talk about the original Trailblazer, Paige or Saraya. Now, if you folks haven't seen Saraya wrestle before, she's currently contracted over to All Elite Wrestling, and frankly put, she is quite a talented performer on the microphone. Her in-ring work is a bit rustier than it was in her days in the WWE, however, this is due to several injuries that she suffered while wrestling for the promotion. In general, however, Paige was one of the performers that most people really gravitated towards in the 2010s. She was a very standout and unique diva among all of the other women, and she really is the first woman that worked to demolish the term diva from WWE. As such, I really feel like having her back in the fold in the WWE would absolutely help elevate the women's division, even if she was on something of a part-time schedule where, she couldn't really work too much due to previous injuries, or maybe she was even just a mouthpiece. To be honest with you, and this is not just me bashing AEW because they've booked a lot of great stars over there, but her time in AEW has been really dull. It doesn't seem like the fans care about her. She won the women's title once and then just basically immediately lost it again, and generally speaking, since arriving, hasn't really done much of note. The run with the Outcasts was very promising, and then that kind of fell apart. So ultimately, I think seeing her back in the WWE would be phenomenal, if only to let her try and solidify her legacy as one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. And speaking of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time, one name that has been coming up left, right, and center with people wanting to see her come back is none other than AJ Lee. Now, if we are talking about what subverting what women's wrestling is all about, AJ Lee absolutely embodies that. I'm not saying there wasn't a woman before her that could cut a promo, but especially in 2010's WWE, AJ Lee was unironically one of the best promos on the entirety of the show. To put it very simply, she was a character and somebody who stood out among her contemporaries. So much so that when I personally think about the Divas Championship, I think about when she held it more than anyone else. However, I don't want that to be the last title she holds. Frankly put, I would love to see her come back and become a dominant force in the women's division once more, if only because her segments and promos are that good. And listen, with her husband CM Punk being back in the fold in WWE, you really can't say never on this one. So please, if I can get anyone from this list, please get AJ Lee back in the WWE. However, those are my thoughts. Those are the 10 superstars who I feel need to return to the WWE. Let me know your thoughts on who you think needs to come back in the comments.
Let's check in the comments, see if anybody's saying Keith Lee. My boy said Matt Cardona and Buddy Murphy. Yeah, that's enough internet